This may be a little bit of a controversial topic because I'm going to talk about my second favorite after food, women. Now I'm going to go back more than 50 years ago to when I was a young chap and I was a member of this club for smart people called Mensa. And they had a special division called SMUT. And SMUT was single Mensa under 30. And I used to, that was a great place to meet women who are very liberal in their views. And that was where I heard, what later became feminism was in those days called women's lib. Now, for a brief history of women's lib, back around 1880, in many countries there was the suffragette movement. That was the first thing I know about that was a widespread movement for women to get for women to get the vote. And the thing before that was actually, long before that, was a Greek play. I think it was called Lysistrata, where all the women got together, Greek women, of course. This is like 200 BC. So I guess most women and a lot of feminists would say that the start of the women's movement dates back to ancient Greece, where there was a play, as I said, called Lysistrata, about women getting together to withhold sex from their men unless they would stop going to war. Well, we know how that ended. They're still fighting today, and I guess there'll never be an end to it. But then, of course, there was also in ancient Greece the island of Lesbos, and that is where women would go if they wanted to get along completely without men. So that was where the word lesbian comes from. So now we go where the age of the suffragette is 2,000 years later, and now we go to when maybe the 1960s, where women's lib began, and that was something who can object to women getting the same pay as men and having equal opportunity. Unfortunately, employers recognize that women who get pregnant take off time from their jobs, and now they get well paid for their, not always, but in many cases well paid for their maternity leave. So between men and women, I guess a lot of employers would rather have men who don't get pregnant and take maternity leave. Although in Denmark and in Sweden, the men actually get maternity leave to take care of their newborn kids. Okay, I'm diverting from really what I wanted to talk about, which is my experience with women all my life. And the reason I mention Mensa is because Mensa members are all a bit weird. And they all have crazy theories about life. And my theory in my 20s, when I joined Mensa and became active in SMUT, was I thought that when you're a young guy, let's say between 15 and 25, you should have a girlfriend, at least 15 or 20 years older than you. So that means 35 to 50 when you're young, and that woman should show you the ropes and acquaint you with what the world is like. And then when and she should probably be a widow or a divorcee, and there's lots of those around, who would like a nice young boy for their companion and boyfriend. Once again, I'm telling you, as a Mensa person, you have these crazy theories. Today, when I look back, I think, it's a little bit nuts. But that was my theory at the time. Okay, so then when you're between, let's say, 25 and 35, you should have a girlfriend around your age. And I had plenty of those from all countries, and that's going to be our topic after I finish this. But Then when you get 35 or 40, that's when you should have a woman 15 to 25 years younger than you that you marry and have kids with. Because why? Because you'll be established in your profession, you'll be able to afford your kids, and you'll have sowed your wild oats, and you'll be able to be faithful to your young wife. And then when you die at the usual age 65, 70, then your young wife will be a widow who can take on a nice 15 to 25-year-old boyfriend. So that was my theory. Okay, to a certain extent, I followed that theory and had girlfriends, wives, and permanent partners in that age range. But now let me talk about all these different nationalities. Remember, I've lived in around 50 countries, so I'll just talk about the major ones and the girls, the personalities of women in these different countries. Now, obviously, there's all kinds of exceptions. There may be super sensitive, nice, wonderful, well, from my point of view, wonderful women in any country, and there may be what we call bitches in any country. So I'm just going to be very generalized when I talk about personalities that I ran into more often than not in different countries. I'm going to start with France. Now, French women seem to be more emotional and drama queens than others. On the good side, if you call it good side, is they tend to be skinny and fashionable. You go to their home and you look in the refrigerator, the only thing there is yogurt. But when I say emotional, I had one experience where a girlfriend was offended by something I did or said. She said, "I hate you. I never want to see you again. Get out." And she practically pushed me out the door and slammed the door. Well, I said to myself, okay, if she doesn't want to see me anymore and she hates me, good. A couple days later, she calls me up and says, "Oh, come on over," as if that whole episode never happened. And that sort of thing happened with French women many times. Okay. Now we'll talk about Thai women from Thailand. A lot of the women's lib ladies of today say, oh, American or first world men who go to a place like Thailand and look for poor, illiterate women are exploiting them. Well, I don't know about exploitation. If a young lady is carrying bricks on her back and eating nothing but mildewed rice and has nothing going for her, becoming the girlfriend, mistress, or wife of a guy in the first world and going to his country is a step up. Whether woke women like that or not, I think that's the reality. But let me tell you about a real story of a young Thai lady that I met once. She was working in a bar. We went out together. I bought her a nice dinner. Probably, I think she said, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever even been in a restaurant." Wow. Then, in my generosity, I bought her a nice Chinese-made plastic watch. It must have been $5 then, probably 10 now, but it was nothing special. And after this event, the girl says, "Take me anywhere, do anything with me you want. I'm your love slave." Well, I mean, for a guy, that's kind of nice language, isn't it? But let me tell you about my love slave. She was my girlfriend for a while. I liked her. She was reasonably intelligent, very nice looking, great to be in love with. And one day I'm leaving my apartment and I went for a swim. And I had forgotten I left my glasses on. So my glasses ended up at the bottom of the pool. I went back to the apartment, got dressed, was going out for lunch with this young lady. We'll call her Sim. It doesn't matter what we call her. But as I passed the pool, I noticed something brown, like frame, a glass frame at the bottom of the pool. And I felt up here and I said, oh my God, I don't have my glasses. That's my glasses at the bottom of the pool. Now she's fully dressed. She immediately jumps in the pool, fishes out my glasses and says, here, lover boy, here's your glasses. Come on, how many European girls would do that? None. So from the point of view of a first world guy, to have a woman who has that attitude is actually pretty nice. Now there's a problem with Thai girls. I have a lot of friends who married them and took them back to the first world. And the problem is most Thai women are looking for a step up. In other words, they're looking for a better looking guy, a richer guy, and they want to, they're happy to change. So they're not all that faithful. So I'm not sure what would have happened with my love slave, probably the same, that Thai women are quite practical. They seem to be always looking to make a step up in the world. When you talk about practicality, you don't get any more practical than Chinese women. Before they even date you, if they're middle class, they want to know that you have a car, apartment, a college degree, and you're able to support them in the style they hope to become accustomed to. So I've had, I'll tell you a real story. There was once a Chinese girl who was very unhappy with her Chinese husband. He expected her to have a nice meal ready for her every day and be not argumentative, and she was unhappy and wanted a divorce. So before I even knew she was married, we dated a while, and then I said, you know what, would you like to move in with me? Well, and then I got this practical thing about all the questions that I just mentioned, and then she said, oh, I'm the branch manager of a big insurance company, and I make $50,000 a year. So if I'm going to move in with you and think about marrying you, I want a trust fund set up that will give me at least $50,000 a year. Now, by the way, $50,000 a year back then is more like $500,000 a year now. So my experience with several Chinese women has been that they're very practical and materialistic. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Why shouldn't you be practical and materialistic? But that's my take on Chinese women. Now, how about American women? Well, that's where I have had an awful lot of experience. And obviously some women are like, what was her name, Melania in Gone with the Wind. That was the name of the character played by Olivia de Havilland. And I heard that even in real life, this Olivia de Havilland never said anything bad about anyone. She was agreeable. She was what most men would consider the perfect candidate to be a wife. And another woman like that I never met, but it was the wife of Groucho Marx. She had such a good reputation for being just an agreeable and lovable woman that when she became a widow and Groucho died, she was already a bit old, and Frank Sinatra wanted to marry her and did marry her at once. So American women can be very sweet and desirable. One American woman I dated was just the opposite. She, I dated her for a while. If you wanted to go to a movie, she would say, no, let's not go to that movie, we'll go to a different movie. Whatever I said, restaurant, movie, anything, she wanted to give me an argument and do something different. So a lot of I dated a lot of women who either were or became ardent feminists, and I found them to be extremely argumentative. And so some guys would say very castrating. So it's no wonder that a lot of men would, prefer to go to another country and get a girlfriend there than hang out with a feminist. Okay, so to have a bang-up finish, I'm just going to have a few comments on women I've dated from other countries. Now, I've dated a lot of African women. I'm not talking about South African white women. I'm talking about black women from Congo, Senegal, many other places. I found them, okay, once again, generalization, very bossy. They want to take charge of your life, tell you what to do, but it's kind of in a nice way. Not like the American girls who I've spoken of want to argue over everything. They just take charge, and it's nice. The Israeli girls are the same. I learned when I was in Israel that this characteristic is called, what you call a girl a Ballabostas. That means like a ball buster. But once again, they take charge of your life, and if you're married to them, they tell you where to work and what to do and how to raise the kids. They definitely take charge of everything. Okay, nothing wrong with that. I think this is almost worth a part 2. If you have some comments and you think that it's worth listening to me on this topic, I'll do a part 2, because I've really been around. I've had more than my share of girlfriends, and I have many more countries I can talk about. Greek women and German women and many Asian women, and my all-time favorite, Filipino women. I'll close on this note, that Filipino women generally tend to marry their very first boyfriend, and they stay faithful all their lives as long as they're not too badly treated. In other words, even if they're badly treated, they stay with the same guy. And guess what? The guy can have girlfriends on the side and be unfaithful. They don't make a fuss about that as long as they save face. And that's a big thing in the Orient, is you don't, socially, you don't bring your side girlfriend to events that your wife attends. So, as I said, if you want more about my experiences and opinions of women, ask for me to do a part 2. And with that, we'll say bye-bye from Switzerland.